Yeah,
meet you.
yeah, great to meet you. So let's hop in. Let's get into the new album Wellspring. But before that, I want to know this pandemic 5 years ago really rocked the musicians and all of us on the planet. How did you
Mhm.
make it through that time period? And how did it influence this album or anything that you're doing right now as a musician?
Oh, that's a good question. You know, the timing of that was really interesting. About 3 or 4 months before the pandemic, I was in Denver, getting really, really busy with teaching, freelancing, and writing my own music and leading my own group. And then we had a girl, and things were really, really busy. Denver was getting more and more full of people, which was great playing all the time. But I had this um, feeling that I wanted to get out and slow down and focus more on writing music. And so we made the decision to move in March of 2020, and and moved to Vermont. And so right as we started that journey, the pandemic happened, and um, a lot of other people moved to Vermont, and it was this really interesting uh, meeting of a lot of people suddenly wanting to slow down and get off the beaten path. Um, so it was actually, you know, from where I was going, I was wanting to slow down and take a shift. Uh, so the timing for me was actually really fortunate as far as just getting space from things. And it didn't affect me in the way that it affected basically 99% of the other musicians who had to cancel all the gigs and tours and all the projects. And I was already headed that way to a little isolation. So I kind of got lucky with the timing there.
So talk to me about the album. What was kind of the vision for this album?
The album was about and is about tuning into sources of renewal. And what I mean by that is, uh, you know, when we look at nature, I think part of the influence was just realizing I like this story of going from Denver to living in the woods in Vermont. Started to be a little more aware of these sources of renewal that are around us. Like we get our water from a well, and it just it just provides for us. And also like looking at a fire when there's embers burning, you know, that's some potential there, and there's energy in that. And I was realizing that I wanted to write music not necessarily physically about those objects and items in nature, but about that process of energy moving through us and change and feeling alive. And in some sense, it's a parallel to what music does for us. It's kind of became the best way I can even describe what music is it's a source of renewal. It can bring change and transformation, and in a sense, like the album itself aims to be that as well, in the same sense that a wellspring provides for us.
So take me back to your beginnings. How did this journey into the music and jazz begin for you?
Mm. I grew up tinkering on the piano and had a supportive education system through grade school. Through high school, I had some great teachers, and um, I'd say there were some just really supportive teachers at the right moment that guided me. I don't. There's a piano player, Art Landy, when I ended up in Boulder, who's an avant-garde ECM piano player who's a great just community and sense of, you know, what music all you know, music being open and connected, and to bring presence to it, and just all the possibilities. He was a transformative figure in my education of just opening up my world. And there were many more as I went to, I studied in New York City, and there's a trumpet guru, Lori Frink, who passed away a little over 10 years now. And she she just created such a sense of steadiness as far as the trumpet and technique, and created this structure that I didn't have so much structure as far as the technique of playing the trumpet, which is an instrument you need some technique for to pull it off. And she gave me the structure to just trust where I could work on this trumpet technique for this amount of time in the day and then let it go and be free to play the rest of the day.
What was the first live show, jazz show you saw that blew you away, that made you think, I want to do that one day?
Mhm. Yeah, let's see. I think three come to mind. They all had a different influence, and they're all fairly early in my life. And one was jazz influences, seeing Ray Charles in Red Rocks, and just that energy he brought,
Yeah.
just visceral and powerful. And I saw Chick Corea shortly after that, and that was just a matter of the pyrotechnics of just all these notes and energy that way. And shortly after that, I saw Wynton Marsalis play. He came through Denver, and just this, uh, as a trumpet player, that was, I think, the first live trumpet I heard that just kind of just sat and stuck with me. And there's something about his sound, the way he plays melodies, that's so captivating and gripping. And all three of those, yeah, I still remember all those
Those are
concerts.
stellar. So I'm
Yeah.
curious, before we depart Wellspring, what are you ultimately hoping the listener gets from this album?
Oh, a chance to connect to the moment of the music. In that same thing I was just saying, to basically some get some renewal, and to be present in the moment. That I think that's what art can do for us, and a lot of things outside of art, but like something to help us center and remember where we are in our bodies. And um, it's an album, which is a lot to ask for people these days, to sit down and listen to, an hour of music. And um, even someone to listen to the first two tracks. I think it's a double LP, so there's four sides, and I put a lot of thought into each side being its own space. So yeah, I hope the listener, can find a comfortable spot and enjoy, being alive and listening to some music.
So you're in Vermont, but you've spent time obviously in Denver and New York. And the beauty of the
Mhm.
jazz world is that especially with New York, it's just there's all of these dreams of what you want to do as a performer and what you want to accomplish. What was the stage in New York you always dreamed of playing on? You finally got to, and you're like, wow, I'm here doing it.
Oh, in New York, I got to play at the Blue Note, which was that was special. I got to do it a couple times, and I went there and visited when I was younger, and to go there and watch musicians and get blown away, I think, as a high school student, and then years later to play on that stage, that was a special moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the other thing too about being a musician is that when you're studying and you're learning and you're getting your chops up and you're going into this career, there's these ideologies, this idea of what you want your career to be. But then there's this
Mhm.
reality of what it actually is and what the business is like and what the stage is like. What was
Mhm.
that? What's the difference between the dream you had and what's actually transpired in this business of being a musician?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the dream I had when I left, when I finished school, it was kind of in this long incubation period, because right out of high school, I was in the army band for 3 years, and I played all sorts of different settings, jazz included, but a lot of um, time playing honors, playing taps for many, many soldiers, and playing in all sorts of different settings. So I kind of came out of that really wanting to play jazz, but also having this ability to play many styles and many settings. And then I went to school for 6 years in Boulder and New York and really focused on jazz. And when I left, I think I still kept that ability to play many genres. And the dream that I had was, hey, it's hard to make it as a trumpet player. Let me write music, let me teach, let me make it work. And 7 years later in Colorado, I was so busy that I realized my dream wasn't specific enough. I had all these things going because just being a trumpet player, um, I was really busy trying, there were too many directions to go, and I felt drawn to all of them at once. It wasn't as if freelancing wasn't enjoyable or teaching wasn't enjoyable. I loved it all, and I also felt like I couldn't fit it all into my life. And so the dream began to take more shape. And I think just getting older, you can only do so many things in your life and do so many things well.
Yeah.
And um, that was part of coming here. And so the dream right now is I feel like I'm I'm still like in the middle of it, wondering like how deep I can go into just keep writing and having these projects. And at the same time, I have an itch to play more than I'm playing right now. I have so much time to practice and write, but I'm in an area called the Northeast Kingdom, which is, not Burlington, Vermont, where there's some great jazz musicians in Burlington. In the Northeast Kingdom, it's it's hard to find, other musicians that speak the same language.
Yeah.
And so that's the whole different set of challenges that creates a whole different set of challenges that I'm working with now. And what's been happening is just focusing on bigger projects where I put a lot of time into writing and play on a bigger stage where I can bring these great musicians from New York and different areas to me. And yeah, it's a big deep question about making the art and the business come together. And yeah, I'm in the midst of the experiment of really like setting aside so many different musical choices to focus on being a writer and a band leader. And I'm loving how it's going so far. Yeah.
So what gets you up every day? What is the urge for you to create and to evolve as a musician?
Mm. When I have had times in my life when I don't do it, I feel this I don't feel as alive. Um, it things start to feel like numb, and when I come back to the music, it's like I'm seeing color again or something. There's um, this abstract nature to it that activates so much of my being, and letting that be letting that have its space to be alive. uh it brings a lot of meaning to me every day. So yeah, and then when I do that, then I start to see the meaning in non-musical places. Like it's kind of like a home to remind me of, there's beauty in everything, and it's easy for me to see in the music, and it's this place to come back to, and then I'm reminded that I can see it everywhere.
Yeah. Why do you love jazz? Why do you love this art form we call jazz?
Mm. Uh, one thing I like about it, and the thing I love about it, like like you're asking, is it can be so much like life in that there's unknowns to it, and there's communication, and there's relationships, and then there's isolation. These elements of it can really reflect our lives, and then there's also a dance to it. There's play, and um, yeah, it's like this container, sound, and you take sound and it it puts just enough walls in for for it to be, create some structure for me to grab onto, yet it's so wide open,
Yeah.
and the possibilities feel endless.
So if you could get into a time machine and go back in time and see one jazz musician, one group, one show, where would you go?
Hmm, that's a hard one. I I think somewhere along in the Miles quintet with Wayne Shorter,
Yeah.
some of those moments where they were just pushing the boundaries, pushing the boundaries somewhere on those tours.
I was wondering if it would be trumpet heavy or not. So no, Miles is perfect. So let me ask you this: if anybody wants to pick up a copy of Wellspring, they want to catch you live. Anything else going on in your world? Where do they go?
My website, tomgershwin.com, is the
Okay.
best place. You can find all that information.
Okay. Cool. Tom, this has been great, man. Thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your story. Best of luck with the release and everything else. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much. Great to meet you.
Hey Jazz fans, Joe Domino of Neon Jazz here. Proud to let you know about the triumphant return of the Kansas City Blues and Jazz Festival to Legends Field at the home of the KC Monarchs with a stellar lineup. Grammy-winning Stanley Clarke, Carl Denson's Tiny Universe, jazz master Bill Frisell, and KC luminaries Jackie Myers and Brody Buster. Tickets and more for this electrifying two-day event is found at monarchsbaseball.com, then click on special events. This October 3rd and 4th, join us as we bring magic and music back to Kansas City.